We're back once again with another episode of the Bionicle Inspiration Series. Today, we're going to be talking about female MOCs because, anatomy is different between the different genders. So it's important to sort of study up, see what sort of stuff you can learn, whether that's from actual MOCs that are female MOCs or just sort of studying a bit of anatomy, looking at sort of different kind of like drawing diagrams and different things. You never know what you might learn. In fact, I'll show you one right now. So here's just sort of a male next to a female here, and I mean you can immediately see the sort of hourglass shape difference that you see on the female body versus the more sort of like broad-shouldered look of a male body, which is just a sort of very quick explanation of the differences. There are many, many more, but it is certainly worth noting if you do want to build a more sort of accurate female form for your Bionicle MOCs. But of course, males and females come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, so there's multiple different ways that you could do it. And let's look at exactly that today. Let's look at a few different ways that you could approach making a female MOC. The very first MOC that we've got today is a MOC by Lego Worm, and this is Irui and the Brick Bride. So this one's cool because it's sort of playing around with this quite fantastic looking dress design here. It looks very much like a wedding dress of sorts, which seems very fitting with the name, it being, the Brick Bride. It makes sense. But I also just kind of looked at this and saw a very sort of something you might typically see in like animes and other different shows and different forms of media and things, is just more kind of badass looking dresses. And that's certainly something that I think is cool with, female MOCs like this, is being able to play with fashion a little bit more. Not that you can't do that necessarily with, any other kind of MOC, but, you can certainly play around with different dresses and different stuff. Or maybe give your male MOCs a dress. No reason you can't. Still though, this is a fantastic looking dress. It kind of reminded me of, Lucamine from Pokemon Sun and Moon. Just, I don't know, the way that the sort of like high heels look and the sort of snazzy pants and the just sort of the way the dress kind of flows down. It kind of reminded me of that, but I think it is more directly taking inspiration from wedding dresses, especially the fact that it actually has a veil and like a bouquet and stuff like that. It just kind of makes sense. So really cool to see that being made here in Lego. I love the inclusion of some of these sort of like cone pieces on the sleeves there, just to give it a bit more of a sort of poofy look, and the sort of larger curved slope pieces here to make up the sort of kind of flowing look of the dress. It's fantastic. I also quite enjoy the head design here, just being a big old blue brick. So this is very heavily inspired by a MOC by L.A. Miranda, so you can check out their Flickr in the description below as well. And I believe the little minifigure there, the sort of groom with the ring, is meant to be L.A. Miranda's MOC with... I'm going to pronounce it wrong, I apologize, but Irui, something like that. And then the Brick Bride is this actual MOC here. So, I've always enjoyed this sort of concept of just this big blue, cubed Lego brick sort of head like this for the head of this MOC, which sort of is, shared between those two MOCs there. But I think that's just a cool concept that you could apply to any MOC, who says it needs to be a sort of more recognizable humanoid face, who says it needs to be some sort of complex design or use a... official Bionicle mask or a, non-official Bionicle mask, whatever. You could just do something kind of a little bit more absurd like this. And I mean absurd in the kindest possible way, of course, absurd in all the fun and enjoyable ways here. So yeah, why not do something a little bit more different like that? Because it looks pretty cool. So yeah, I think this is an absolutely fantastic MOC, and I like the idea of them sort of sitting down on this stand as well. Just a fun way to pose the MOC. And hey, if your MOC's having a bit of trouble standing up, maybe you're not really focusing on posability, there's no reason you can't just have them sitting down or build a sort of base to actually help them stand up. And sometimes I think it just makes the MOC look that much cooler and gives them a bit more personality too. It's cool. So absolutely awesome looking MOC here. Let's move over to the next one. This is by Joxon, and this is Panic Agur Scarlet. And this is such a cool MOC. I love the fact that he's really continued this sort of drill aesthetic all throughout this MOC. The fact that this MOC has this sort of like really cool like pigtail design here with these really large gear pieces sort of flowing out. And I believe those came on some old Atlantis sets, but I think they came on some Power Miners sets. They've appeared in a whole bunch of different things. You've even got them in tan before as a sort of large ice cream cone. So that they appear in a few different things. But it's such a cool piece. And then it's cool to see the sort of slightly smaller version of that drill piece being used on the hand there as a sort of I guess, offensive weapon of sorts. So that looks pretty cool. And then again, even more drill pieces, these very tiny sort of like unicorn horn pieces that also kind of look like little mini drills, being nicely inserted into that mask there in the sort of natural gaps that were in that mask, which you can kind of insert a bar piece into. So it just kind of works well there. So it's lovely to see this aesthetic continued across this MOC in multiple different ways, and seeing pieces that are in all different varying sizes, but all have that exact same texture, and how wonderfully they all flow when they're grouped together like this. I wanted to quickly read a comment that was on this MOC here on Flickr by Mr. Simon Liu. Fantastic guy, met him in person, lovely man. He says that, he loves the eyes on this MOC, which I'll touch upon in a second, but he also said he loves how every piece seems to have been made just for this use. And I think that's the best way to sum up a Jock MOC, or a Jockson MOC, a MOC by Jockson, however you want to word it. That's just what he does. He just perfectly makes it seem that every single piece has been designed for the exact use that he is implementing it in on the MOC. It's incredible. So it's great to see just the beautiful flow of these drill pieces into these sort of like red engine pieces on the hair. The way that the mask, the eyes, and that sort of little sort of like triangle of Keat orange there just perfectly flows one into the other. This MOC is just so seamless. I mean, even the legs too, the upper legs flowing into those larger red Star Wars Ultra build, like kind of shin guard pieces. So cool, so cool. Everything just has this beautiful flow and organic shaping to it. It's brilliant. The eye pieces, as I was going to talk about them a bit later, we'll do it now. I like how, one, I just like how they look. There's just an interesting shape to them. I believe that these are these sort of like diamond jewel pieces that come from some elf sets. I always jokingly called them the Elfinity Gauntlet, because as you can see in this set here, it seems that they had to collect all 4 of these sort of elf stones. And I don't know the elf story well enough to know what happened, but I'm sure the evil lady can snap her fingers and lots of people die. I don't know. But I think it's that sort of triangular piece there. It might be that he's taken some of the printing off, or maybe a version of that piece exists without that, or maybe it's not that piece at all, and I'm wrong. But I think it is, and it kind of looks like it. So very, very cool piece. Not an overly common piece, but man, it works really well for these eyes here. It's very, very cool. So yeah, absolutely love your work, Jockson. You've nailed this. Very important detail. The hair. It's not just for show. It actually transforms, and it becomes this sort of like rocket propulsion weapon thing. Very cool. Very, very cool. I love that little detail there, and this MOC just has so much like personality and character. There's something just that's, I don't know, so cool about it. So it's cool to sort of turn the hair into a, jetpack weapon thing. It's a really, really smart idea. Overall, fantastic MOC from Jockson. Let's move over to the next MOC, the MOC that inspired this episode, as I was sent it by Shadow Gear when I was having a chat with him the other day. This is a brilliant MOC by Curie Retro 8, and I had to use Google Translate for this, so I apologize if there's any miscommunication, but this MOC is called Okamoto. This is such a cool MOC. This is using system in such fantastic ways. I mean, we are the Bionicle Inspiration series, but there's no reason you can't include a little bit of system in your Bionicle MOCs. This head design is so filled with joy, filled with just life and character. It's incredible, and it's very, very system heavy here. And that's what makes it so cool. Even the little sort of blushing cheeks. I love that little detail there, and the happy little mouth. It's very cool. My favorite part is these little sort of like strands of hair on the front of the head. Now, these pieces, they come in a variety of different colors. Some of them have the sort of tip there as a different sort of shade of whatever color. Or I believe there are a couple examples where this piece is just one specific color. So one example of a set that this LEGO set appears in is Dark Panther. No, not Black Panther from Marvel, Dark Panther, an Exo-Force set. Which, by the way, if you Google that set, Google is like, you mean Black Panther? I'm like, no, I mean Dark Panther, the Exo-Force set. And they're like, no, you mean Black Panther. I'm like, no, I don't actually. And it just refuses to show you Dark Panther. So you have to Google the set number if you want to find more images of that. But really cool LEGO set, by the way. Got a lot of fun memories with Dark Panther. Brilliant. Exo-Force is a great theme. Maybe bring that one back too, LEGO, if you can. But that's a really cool piece, because the end is a little bit sort of flexible there as well. So if you want to play with that, use it to your advantage, you maybe can. But it's cool to see that being used as just this brilliant looking sort of like strand of hair. It's incredible. Really, really nice part used there. I also enjoy her little sort of like toolkit thing here. It looks so cool. It's just Really good example of sort of brick-built tools. Just a lovely little accessory and something that gives the MOC a lot of character as well. It's also nice to see a lot of CCBS being really effectively integrated in with system pieces here. Specifically on the legs as well, those two pieces just flow very seamlessly one into the other. And then sort of around the dress and on the torso there as well, we can see a few more CCBS pieces. And man, the textures just flow beautifully one into the other there. It's really nice to see. Especially this sort of like white windshield piece that's being used sort of on like the belt sort of waist area of this MOC. A little bit sort of, yeah, more or less there. This sort of white windshield piece that has this sort of great curve to it. It looks so similar. I almost would mistook that for a different CCBS piece. I thought it was the exact same piece that we're seeing there, just adjacent to it, that sort of red sort of like shoulder panel piece. It's just a cool part, you know, and it's awesome to see how effectively that pairs with your CCBS. So don't be afraid to get your Hero Factory pieces, your Bionicle G2 pieces, any of your construction pieces like that, and see how nicely it pairs with system, because sometimes it's just a flawless transition like we see here. So yeah, I adore this MOC, just so filled with life and just so well built. This is absolutely incredible. Be sure to check this builder out on Twitter, because I'll admit, I don't always check Twitter for MOCs, but there are some absolute amazing MOCs on Twitter, so be sure to take a look at this builder and many others on Twitter as well. And I'll probably be doing some more Twitter-related MOC content episodes of this soon, don't you worry. I've saved a whole bunch of different things in my folders and different things, so more are coming, don't you worry. So fantastic MOC. Let's move over to the last MOC in this episode now. This is by HP Create 1985, and this is Cali. Maybe they're from California. I don't know. Anyway, terrible joke. I apologize. This is sort of inspired by a red-eye tree frog, I believe is the name of the actual frog, which, as you can see in the picture here, and then you kind of compare it to this MOC, you can certainly see the similarities with those beautiful striking red eyes there. Very, very cool. What I love about this MOC is, I don't know, just humanoid creatures is kind of always a cool idea as well. You see it in a lot of, media. You see it in Star Wars, you see it in D&D, you see it in all sorts of different stuff. So nothing wrong with doing that, taking a look at the animal kingdom and maybe taking a character that's normally on all fours and standing them up on two legs. Could be something fun to play with there. What I like about this too is the fact that this MOC is an archer. I don't know, you don't see a lot of bows and arrows on your Bionicle MOCs these days. It's a great looking bow design and an awesome quiver as well. And I always like the sort of, kind of silhouette that a quiver creates. If it's kind of similar to like the Mandalorian from The Mandalorian, when he's holding his Amban pulse rifle on his back there. It just looks cool, and you see him walking from the sunset and stuff. It's a nice silhouette, so it's cool to see that that sort of, the quiver sort of popping up there and seeing the arrows poking out the back there. It just makes the MOC look cool, so very nice. I also enjoy the stand on this MOC here, and the fact that it's got this little sort of like beetle robot head at the bottom, which looks really cool. I don't know. I always enjoy a good stand on a MOC. I've done multiple base or stand episodes of the Bionicle Inspiration series. And I don't know, it's kind of similar to what I said before. One, it can help with posability, and two, it kind of helps create a bit of a story or puts this MOC in a specific setting. So it kind of brings it to life a little bit more. And it certainly works well here. You get the sense that they've maybe just defeated this robot head creature thing. And that's sort of the remains of it on the floor as they walk past it or something. It's cool. It works well. Plus some little like flowers and other details there on the base as well. It's nice. It's really nice. So another fantastic MOC, and again, another very system-heavy MOC, which is always good to see, because, like I said before, system works really well with your CCBS, and hey, we don't have construction as a theme anymore, really, so definitely look towards your system, because there's a lot you can learn from system, and there's certainly some great pieces you can play with. So never be afraid to play with some system. Maybe go out and buy a few system sets when you're feeling it, when you've got the money to do so, because there's certainly a lot of creative possibilities that you can play around with your system. So that's it for a few different MOCs today in this episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series. Hopefully it gave you some fun ideas for some upcoming MOCs that you might be working on, or just, I don't know, it gave you any sort of ideas or inspiration, or it was just, you just had a fun time. That's what I hope happened to you today. You had fun. Check the links in the description below to see some of the other MOCs that these builders have done. There's links to all the MOCs you saw today, so you can check out some of the other things they've done. Maybe leave a like, maybe comment on their stuff. I'm sure they'd appreciate that if you did so, and I'd appreciate it if you did it for them. Additionally, in the description is links to my own social media, so if you want to check out some of the stuff that I've got going on, that's the place to do so. And also, while you're in the description below, be sure to check out things like my Patreon or my P.O. Box. All of those are available there, so if you want to send anything my way or you want to join the Patreon and get some additional bonus content, that is something you can certainly look forward to doing. Only if you want to, there's no obligation to do so if you don't want to, but the offer's there if you need it. Finally, if you want to submit some of your own mocks to the show, you can submit them through the submission email. It's on your screen right now. That is the only way to submit mocks to the show. Just send me whatever you want. Pictures, info, it doesn't really matter. There's no sort of set rules to that. Send it my way, and I'll do my best to include it in a future episode of the Bionicle Inspiration Series. I'm thinking next week, I don't normally say this, I'm thinking next week I'm going to do a Hero Factory episode. So if you have Hero Factory stuff, now's the time. Submit it. I'll see what I can do. I might even try and recycle some of those old submissions from HF Feb earlier this year. See what I can do. So I don't normally do that. I don't normally announce what the next theme will be, but I'm feeling lucky today. I'm feeling different. So let's spice it up. That's what I'm thinking for next week. And I'm telling you this now because I'm always curious to see how many people listen to all the way to the end of the episode. So if you did listen to the end of the episode, maybe leave some sort of secret code word in the comments, like maybe just say like Stormer. Just say Stormer. You know, whether you just say Stormer or you neatly work it into your sentence somehow, whatever, just to let me know. Or just send me your Hero Factory mocks and I'll know, hey, that guy listened to the end of the episode. I like that guy. Good job. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Happy building and bye for now.